Greetings, YouTube. Over the years here on my channel, and it's weird to think that I've been at this for years, I have espoused any number of very progressive, socialist-style opinions. I have been a promoter of the concepts of empathy, sympathy, and compassion. I'm not perfect. I do occasionally fail. My emotions do occasionally kick in when a cooler head might be called for. But one of the things that has been asked is the fact that I have stated that as a youth I was much more conservative, and now I am very, very progressive. By American standards, I am Karl Marx, even though by more reasonable European standards, I am just kind of a middle-of-the-road progressive. How I got from the conservative to the progressive, what arc did I travel to do that? And I've been thinking about it a lot lately as part of my therapy and just in general pondering things at work. When I'm not working on video ideas or gaming ideas, I frequently think about my therapy and I write notes, and my therapist is always very happy because whenever I show up to a session I have a little list of things that that I want to bring up. All written in my hand, which means that it is even difficult for me to read, but I do work my way through it. And I thought I would kind of give a basic description of what I can discern was my story, the way I got from one thing to the other. Now, if you had asked me at 19 what my political view was, it probably wouldn't have had one. If I was really pressed, I might have described myself as a rational anarchist, someone that only follows the laws, codes, and mores of my society to the point where I stay out of jail. And other than that, I consider myself utterly apolitical and, quite frankly, relatively amoral. Even though I was an atheist, well, at that point, kind of an agnostic, I espoused the idea of kill them all and let God sort them out. Even when I didn't believe in God, it was sort of just kill them all. I endorsed capital punishment. I, in fact, if push came to shove and you asked, I probably would have endorsed torture. I didn't care that there were people in the world that were hungry or didn't have homes or faced social injustice. There were certain topics that I did feel strongly about. I was an advocate of LGBTQ rights from age 15 because I had a stepbrother that was gay. So it was that personal connection that made me feel something towards that cause. But because there were many other things that I did not have any connection to, I felt no interest in. I didn't have a connection to, so I just didn't care. And I've come to realize that the reason I felt that way was because, for the most part, everyone in the world around me was a ghost. And in many regards, I was a ghost. Because my anxiety and my depression prevented me from perceiving other people as people. Prevented me from perceiving myself as a person worthy of respect, sympathy, empathy, compassion. I was just an echo of a very unpleasant upbringing, an echo of very unpleasant experiences of physical and sexual assault, lost in anxiety and depression, ever vigilant, constantly vigilant against everything. I had pretty decent reflexes, and that's one of the reasons. People often said how cool I was when something would go wrong around me and I would react very quickly, and I would not react emotionally, because if you reacted emotionally in my household, you got hit. So you learn how to react and not emote. You learn how to react to save your own skin, and the devil take the hindmost. When I finally left my childhood behind me, it was very much as though I were leaving a concentration camp. I was a survivor of a horrible thing, and I never had therapy and support to process that thing. Now, over the years, on my own, I was able to get some forward progress. And by the time I was, say, 39 or so, I had, say, metaphorically gone about 2 miles down that path towards balance and towards empathy, compassion, and sympathy. Since 39, I'm now 49, I've gone 200 miles. Because as I gained more and more understanding, and as I read more and more about the world and Buddhism and Zen Buddhism, and about sociology and biology, and the book Deep Survival helped me understand that there are times when your amygdala kicks in and it does things to you that takes over you. And even though you know better, that part of your brain kicks in and it pushes you forward, sometimes to your death. Because it's connecting to you on a level that you don't have control of for the most part. And it takes an exceptional individual to shut that down and say, no, I will not go forward. I will stop. I will sit and I will figure out what's going on. And as I gained more knowledge about the world around me, I began to see that I and everyone else is connected to the warp and weft of reality and humanity and politics and religion and all of it. That there is no way to separate yourself. There is no way to be isolated. As much as you think that may be possible, as much as I thought it was possible, you are immersed in humanity like a fish is in water. And I began to gain more and more understanding of that. And eventually going to therapy at the end of my first marriage. And then again, 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, I guess, when buying this house pushed me over the edge and drove me the deepest I'd ever been in depression because I didn't know how to process it. Now, I have a genetic predisposition to depression. My grandfather had it. My father has it. He's on maintenance meds. I have it. I have no difficulty believing that all the men on that side of the family in my past, going all the way back, had it. And all of them were alcoholics. Except me. I'm not. I stopped before I became one. I stopped at 22. 27 years. Clean. Because I didn't want to be an alcoholic. Didn't want to be Ed, my father. Didn't want to be Lester, my grandfather. I wanted to be James. And as I learned more and I understood more, and I learned history and psychology, and I read more about Buddhism and more about other religions, and I contemplated my own faith, and as I bonded with my goddess and eventually with my god Ta, and that got me in touch with my masculine self, which I had ignored for so long because so much of my bad memories were attached to the masculine. And I owned that, and I came to believe and understand that I was a divine being, and you are a divine being. That even the worst of humanity is still human. And I became more politically aware and eventually became politically active. And I became who I am now. Over all that time. It was a long journey. It's taken me 30 years to be where I am now. From amoral, apolitical, to what I'd like to think a moral individual who bases his moral compass on the work of Bernard Gert from the book The Moral Rules, plus some of my own spice in there as well. And my gods, and my friends, and my wife, and my subscribers who challenge me, and anger me, and poke at me, and make me think, and make me smile, and make me happy, and never ever let me forget that there's always another point of view. Even if I think I've known them all or covered them all, there's always another one. Always. Just as like when you're a GM in a game, players will always come up with something you didn't plan for. Always. It's a lot like life. So my journey was one of learning more about myself, learning more about the world around me. One of my first contacts in the world that was healthy were animals, because the animals weren't dangerous to me. I handled dangerous animals. Large snakes, big snakes, 14-foot snakes without fear. Tarantulas without fear. Because the most they could do was hurt me physically. They couldn't go after my heart or my mind, which is where I carried all my scars. I used to have a really big weight on my chest, and my wife helped me get rid of that. She helped me break it up. She helped me to realize that there was a light inside of me that was me, and that no amount of anxiety, no amount of depression, no amount of survivorship, nothing, no one, no force ever would cover that up or stop it. That I would shine through no matter what. And I would like to think that as I get older, that I may well get a little wiser. That light may shine a little brighter. Doesn't mean that I'm passive. Doesn't mean I don't get angry. Doesn't mean I don't cry. I keep moving forward. I keep fighting for the rights of others, even when I am encountering people that resist those rights, that don't want me to fight for the rights of the world around me, even though I am fighting with things that would help them, because I am helping the world in a way that they don't agree with. I'm speaking of conservatives, libertarians, Tea Party members. Because I want the world to be a better place. And I'm not saying I know better. I'm saying that there are models out there that work. I've learned of those models, and I'm trying to push us in that direction of those models. And yes, that is a distinctly progressive, liberal, left, socialist worldview, where we, the people, take care of each other. Where we make sure that no one goes hungry, or homeless, or is in ignorance, illiteracy, and no one wants for health care, mental or physical. That we can do this. We have the power. We have the light inside us to burn so bright that it will reveal all the darkness. And none of the things in the world that live in those shadows will be able to hide. Alright, I've waxed philosophic here long enough. But in a nutshell, that's why I am where I am, and who I am. And it's a wonderful thing. I'm not being egotistical there. I'm telling you, it's a wonderful thing. You have no idea how much better it is now than it was 30 years ago. Where I could go months without looking in a mirror because I just didn't give a shit. And now I can smile when I look at that camera. I can see the lines and the age spots. Yes, age spots. They make me smile because I earned every single one of them. They're mine, they're my badges. And I wear them proudly. No one can take them away from me. I wouldn't want them to. So, that's how I got where I am. Where I started out as a very conservative worldview. Along the way, I dabbled in libertarianism, though I wouldn't say I ever called myself that, but I had a belief very similar to that. For about 3 months, I thought Ayn Rand was pretty darn cool until I really began to dwell on her writings in The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. I read both and began to realize what an absolute nutbag she was, though I've always enjoyed the character of John Galt. I thought he was interesting, even if utterly and absolutely unbelievable. He made me think of Johnny Goodboy Tyler. Was it Johnny Goodboy Tyler from Battlefield Earth? Could be, yeah, that character. Made me think a lot of John Galt. There was a lot of similarities there, I think. And that was intentional. Alright, sorry. I'm wandering again. I'm wandering. So I hope I answered some of these questions for people. I hope that you don't mind that I've rambled a bit. I would like to thank those who've asked. I would like to thank everyone who's listened to this. I will field questions and I'll give answers as best I can. And I hope that I have answered a few things and maybe shown you a little bit more who I am, and where I've come from, and where I hope to go. And I hope that you come with me. So thank you, folks. You have been part of the reason that I am better than I was. And I won't forget that. It's pretty darn grand.